Hi there! In this video we're going to learn about exponent rules. So why is this something I need to know? Because we have to understand how to work with exponents so I can properly simplify any expressions or equations I'm dealing with that I might need to solve for my variable or graph or something where we're using any type of problem where we have to simplify with exponents. So there's 3 rules that you need to know. And note that for the first 2 rules, you have to have like bases in order to use the rules. So just as a reminder what that means, if I have an exponent like 2 to the 5th power, my exponent is going to be the 5, but my base is the 2. So when I'm working with these rules, my bases, or these, have to be the same so that I can apply my rules to my exponents. Okay. So the first rule that we have is multiplication. Before I tell you what the rule is, I would just kind of want to go through what does this first problem even mean and break it down, and then we'll talk about what the rule says. So what does it mean to be x squared? X squared means x times x. X, the base, multiplied by itself 2 times, here, we'll do 2 times because that's my exponent. So x to the 3rd power means I'm going to take my base x and I'm going to multiply it 3 times because my exponent is 3. Okay, so now that I understand what that means, I want to look and see overall how many total x's, if I'm looking down here, because this is x squared times x to the 3rd, how many total x's am I multiplying together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my answer here would be x to the 5th. Let's try one more, and then we'll talk about the rule. So x to the 5th means 5 x's multiplied. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X to the 4th means I'm multiplying 4 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm looking here, how many total x's am I multiplying together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is going to be x to the 9th. Now I want you to pay attention to your exponents here. How are 5 and 4 related to 9? Well, 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. If I go back up to my first one, and I look here, how are 2 and 3 related to 5? Well, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So my multiplication rule says the following. If I have x to one variable, some number a, times x to another exponent, so x to an exponent a, and x to another exponent b, this is another number, my answer is x to the a plus b. I'm going to add together my exponents to figure out what my final exponent is. So when I'm multiplying, I add my exponents. And remember, they have to have the same base. So you can't do like x squared times y to the 5th equals xy to the 7th. That's not correct. They have to be the same base. Otherwise, you cannot use this rule. Okay, so I want you to try this one. This is a good time to pause the video, try it on your own, and see what you get. Okay, so a squared means a times a. And a to the 6th is 6 a's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, that's a funny a. 6. How many total a's? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A to the 8. Or you can do the shortcut, the rule that I just showed you. A squared times a to the 6th is a to the 2 plus 6, which is a to the 8. Okay. Next rule. Division. Okay, so we're going to do the same concept. So division means x to the 5th means, again, 5 x's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and x squared means 2 x's. Okay, so here's something that you also need to remember. Anything divided by itself is equal to 1. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 10 divided by 10 equals 1. X divided by x equals 1. And 1 times anything it happens to be whatever your anything. So here's what we know. I know that 1x over x. So x over x, this is equal to 1 or cancels each other out. This is equal to 1 or cancels each other out. So I'm left with 1 times x times x times x. Or how many x's? 3. Let's try another one. W to the 10th over w to the 6th. So I have 10 w's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 6 w's on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Equals 1, equals 1, equals 1, equals 1, equals 1, equals 1. They're canceling each other out. How many w's do I have left? 4. Now pay attention to your exponents. How are 10 and 6 related to 4? 10 minus 6 is equal to 4. If we come up to this problem up here, how are 5 and 2 related to 3? 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. So when I'm dividing, if I have x to an exponent a divided by x to an exponent b, my final exponent, I subtract always the top exponent minus the bottom. Always the top minus the bottom. Okay, so try this one on your own. Now this one actually, you have to remember one other thing about negative exponents. So when I have negative exponents, I put this one in here because sometimes you'll see this in your books. Negative exponents mean, and I'll write it over here, so c to the negative 2. I take the reciprocal, and I put my c on the bottom and my 2 on the bottom, but the negative goes away. The negative means I take my exponent and I move it to the denominator. If it's already in the denominator, it moves to the numerator. So technically this problem right here is division. It's the same as c to the 7th times 1 over c squared, which is c to the 7th over c squared. I know this is a little bit hard, but the concept is the same. So now I have to say, okay, now that I have my division problem written here, I can use my rule. My rule says I take my top exponent and I subtract my bottom exponent. So this would be c to the 7 minus 2, I'm running out of space, or c to the 5. Final answer. All right, next. The next rule is called power to a power. So I'm taking my exponent that has an like I'm taking my power and I'm raising it to another power. So remember, if I just think of this as a group, this group raised to the 4th power means 4 of these groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, all multiplied together. So this is the same as x squared times x squared times x squared times x squared. And remember, what does x squared mean? Well, it means x multiplied by itself 2 times. So total, how many x's do I have down here? 2, 4, 6, 8. This becomes x to the 8th. What do you happen to notice about 2 and 4? How you can get 8? 2 times 4 is equal to 8. So when you have power to a power, you multiply your exponents. Try this one. W to the 6th, all to the 3rd. So my rule says I take and I multiply my exponents. This becomes w to the 18th. Try this one. Pause the video. See if you can do it on your own. What does the rule say? The rule says when I have a power to a power, or you can think of it this way too. If my exponents are right next to each other, basically separated by a parentheses, that means power to a power. I like to think of it as that little exponent, this parentheses right here kind of tells me I need to multiply my two numbers together. Okay, so multiply. So this becomes y to the 4 times 9, or y to the 36. Final answer. Okay, now this is not a separate rule, but I put it like a crown around it because it's a little bit more advanced, but you're going to see this. I call this, there's no name for this, but I call it a group to a power. When you have a group to a power, the concept is the same as up here when we're doing power to a power, where we multiply our exponents. However, we have to take it one step further and remember that we also have something else, not just one single variable, that there's something else that goes with it. So we're going to look at this the same way. I have to the 4th power, which means I'm going to take my whole group, and I'm going to take this group 4 times. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 2w to the thirds, and I'm multiplying all of these together because I have 4 of these groups. So now, if I'm just multiplying these together, I have to multiply all my numbers. So all my 2's, I have to multiply, and then I multiply all my w's. Okay, so I multiply all my 2's. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. This becomes 16. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to write it out this way. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and w to the third times w to the third times w to the third times w to the third. We multiply together the things that have like bases, that are the same. So all my 2's are the bases that are the same. All my w's are the bases that are the same. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We already learned that that was 16. Now, we have to look at our rules. W to the third times w to the third times w to the third times w to the third. When I'm multiplying, these are just multiplying, I add together my exponents. So this becomes 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12. W to the 12th. So, what's the shortcut way when you have a group to a power? You need to look at each base. Here I have a base of a 2. Here I have a base of a w. And I take my exponent and I distribute it to each base on the inside. So this is really the same as 2 to the 4th times w to the 3rd to the 4th. 2 to the 4th is 16. W cubed, w to the 3rd power, raised to the 4th power, power to a power. I multiply these. 3 times 4 gives me 12. Okay? But if you're having a hard time seeing that, the best way to do it is to literally write it out the way that I did here, so that you can write out your groups and multiply the things that are the same together. So try this one on your own. Okay. I'm going to make 2 groups. I think it's easier to see it this way when you're just learning. So I have 7w to the 4th and 7w to the 4th. I'm going to put together my bases that are like. So I'm multiplying 7 times 7, and w to the 4th times w to the 4th. 7 times 7 is 49. W to the 4th times w to the 4th is w to the 8th. Remember, I add together my exponents. If I use my shortcut rule, I bring this in here, distribute this 2, and I multiply. Distribute this 2, and I multiply. So this becomes 7 squared times w to the 4th squared, which gives me 49 w to the 8th. Okay, last one. Now I added in 2 variables, so I have 3 different bases. I have a 5, I have an x, and I have a y. The concept remains the same. Let's see if you can do this. Pause this by yourself and try and work on it, and I will show you the work. Remember, I have 3 of these groups. So I'm going to put together my bases that are the same. I have 5s, I have x's, and I have y's. So I'm going to write out, I have 5 times 5 times 5. I have x squared times x squared times x squared. I have y to the third times y to the third times y to the third. I multiply out everything. 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25, times another 5 is 125. X squared times x squared times x squared. When I'm multiplying, I add together my exponents. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. And y third times y third times y third, or y cubed times y cubed times y cubed. I add together my exponents. 3 plus 3 plus 3 would be y to the 9th. If I use the shortcut rule, I take this third and I apply it to each base inside. So this becomes 5 to the 3rd times y squared cubed times y cubed cubed. And I multiply. 5 to the 3rd is 125. X squared cubed gives me x to the 6th, and y cubed cubed is y to the 9th. So this is your final answer. Either way you choose to figure it out. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck!